Wonderful. So it is 2:50. I, if anything, am punctual because I work for the military. So you start on time and you end early whenever possible. And so that will be my motto for today. My name is Dawn Bilodeau. I'm the Chief of Voluntary Education for the Department of Defense. Yes, I did say defense. I do not work for the Department of Education. You can see my slides are different from everybody else's that I've been to a presentation. So be that as it may. First thing I'd like to do is, because I work for Department of Defense, do we have any veterans or currently serving members of the National Guard, Reserve, Coast Guard in the audience? Thank you for your service. I wouldn't be here today, and certainly many of us are very grateful nation for your service, and I draw passion every day from my job helping service members navigate the higher education spectrum, so I really appreciate that. I work for an office called the Office of the Secretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, and my part is voluntary education. That's my portfolio. Have any of you, let me ask it this way. Before today, before you walked in this room and saw the slide, how many of you had never heard of voluntary education before? Never heard of it. So what we're all about is typically it is allowing service members to pursue their goals and aspirations in the field of in higher education space in their off-duty time. So remember, our military members are mostly employed full-time by the Department of Defense, the different services, and this would be what's occurring in their off-duty time, trying to better themselves as individuals. But also, because I fall in the readiness structure, we really believe that any personal or professional development in higher education is going to lead to not only a better service member wearing the uniform, performing their duties better in service, but when they take their uniform off, as all of them do at some point in time, when they come out in the civilian sector, they're going to be better citizens as a result of it. So that's kind of where we're coming from. My presentation will be slightly different, and I hope you all are okay with that. I am basically here to kind of give you some information about programs and services that our military members receive in the voluntary education portfolio. I'll start by telling you a little bit about us and our thoughts, our beliefs, who we are, who our students are. And then I'll kind of go through a couple of our key programs and services that we offer, and finally end with a couple of tools that we use to help inform our service members of their opportunities. I really think that there is value in all of you kind of just even hearing about some of these. You may not have heard of some of our programs before, and I know that you all work very closely with our servicemen and women that in financing their education as federal student aid. Many of them are eligible and should be using especially those Pell Grants for our enlisted members. So I thank you for everything that you do to help them navigate the financing of their education, because sometimes all the difference is being able to fund and pay for the bills and pay for their expenses and their life expenses. So it makes the difference between making their dreams a reality. So I really appreciate everything that you do on a daily basis as well. So here's a little bit a quick slide that just kind of encapsulates some of the things that we're going to talk about. Again, these are things that are pursued in their off-duty time. They work during the day or during the night or whenever, but this is typically when they're not on duty. Here's our vision. We basically are trying to shape better service members and better citizens through the pursuit of higher education. We at the Department of Defense don't issue one course. We don't teach courses, right? We use all of you and your schools as partners to do that. We just help to pay the bill, and we help to put them in touch with you all to meet their individualized needs. We have a couple of, we do policies, we champion efforts on the Hill, but we have several focus areas. There are 4 of them. The 2 that I'm going to call to your attention are the first 2 because they're critical to what we're about. We're about providing quality educational opportunities, and so we require all schools that do business with us to sign an agreement attesting to their quality. We also require all schools to be accredited and to be receiving veterans benefits, so GI Bill benefits from the VA. We also monitor quality in terms of outcomes and persistence and retention, just like you all do using your systems. The second focus area is really about, if you think about our military members, many of them join not to go to college, right? They want to do something different with their life. They want to gain some life experience. They join the military. And then many years into the military, they say, maybe I need to go back to school if I want to do this when I leave the military. And so that at that point, they've been out of school for a long time. And so that time, they may not be prepared for the rigors of the classroom. They may not be, up to speed on their reading, their writing, their math skills. And we want to make sure that when they sit in that classroom that they have a good experience, that they are successful in their pursuits, and that's really what Focus Area 2 is all about. It's about making sure that they're prepared for the rigors of academe when they sit in the classroom for the first time, and then making sure that they're successful in their pursuit all the way through to completion. You're going to see some, in the next slide, who we're dealing with, and this will make a little bit more sense then. 2 more slides, sorry. So we have 2,700 partner schools that have signed an agreement with the department, and they offer programs at over 12,000 locations around the world. We have about 800,000 service members coming through our doors every year, virtual doors or physical doors. We have 200 sites worldwide that actually provide on-site counseling. They are everywhere, from Japan, Korea, Europe. We even have sites in Djibouti, Sinai, everywhere. I mean, everywhere you think of that our members are deployed, we have folks that are there helping them, counseling them. So those 800,000 service members, those are individual, unique people. They may come multiple times, but they may come for everything from taking a test to speaking with a counselor, or they may be coming to get tuition assistance so that they can go to college. So they come in for a whole host of reasons. The next bullet, 286,000 service members actually get tuition assistance each year. They're going to about 760,000 classes at colleges around the world, and we spend about $500 million in pursuit of that each year. The colleges inform us that we complete and receive degrees, associate's, bachelor's, master's, or certificate programs for about 53,000 per year are reported. I think that number is low, but we'll see in another slide. Another program we have is called Troops to Teachers. Many of you may have heard of it before. It's been around since 1994 when the program was initiated in 1993, but we began the program in 1994. And since that time, we've placed over 20,000 teachers in the K-12 public schools around the country. So who we serve. These are our tuition assistance recipients. So anybody who's using tuition assistance, those 286,000 we just spoke about, obviously they are full-time military members. So they're usually pursuing their degree in part-time, and so part-time that they're only completing about 3 courses a year. As you can imagine, it's taking them a long time to complete their degree, right? 7 years for an associate's degree and another 8 years for a bachelor's. So these are individuals that are highly motivated to get a degree, but it's taking them a long time because they move around, they get deployed. There are several challenges in working through the higher education landscape for our service members. Most of them are not completing while they're in the service. They're leaving the service. They may have one tour. They may do 4 years and get out, especially the Marine Corps, who have a large, 75% of their members are coming in and leaving within the first term, which is about 4 years. They're blending how they learn, so if they're on a site where there's actually a college classroom conducting classes, they'll sit in that class. And then many times when they go places, they prefer online learning because it can go anywhere with them. They prefer not only online learning, but they prefer alternative blocking and offerings, so shorter terms, more conducive, self-paced kind of activities. 85% of our service members are attending online. This is very different from their civilian peers who tend to go to a residential or classroom experience more often. Again, they're in the military, so when they get their degree, they're not actually looking for a job right away, so that can make a difference in counseling our folks. And again, they're their pursuit of higher education is broken because many times they will have to stop and pick up years later. They may get deployed for a year, come back, have to reintegrate, and then when they find time again to go back to school. And so schools are really great at helping them navigate this and not lose credits, and we really appreciate that. So these are some of the programs that we're going to talk about. Just very briefly, I have one slide for each. I've kept it very high level, and I could talk for hours and probably days on each of these, and then we have a whole host of others. I do want to provide time at the end, so I'm going to quickly go through these and a couple others and then open it up. I would love to hear from you. I was joking with someone earlier that they don't let me out of the Pentagon very often. So when they do, I really like to find out what's going on at a grassroots level and hear from people that are working with our service members and what challenges they're having. So I would hope that some of you would come up to the mics and kind of just share with me some of your experiences that you're having with our military members. We have a large force, about 450 individuals located, again, all over the world that are performing professional counseling services. They do everything from conducting interest inventories to discussing career paths. Where do you want to be when you leave the military? How are we going to get you there? What are some things you can do now? Short-term programs, certificates, degrees. We look at all of that first, and then what colleges offer those programs. We also have a large discussion about financing because for our military members, that can be kind of tricky. As you can suspect, while they're in, there are a lot of programs, and then when they leave, the cost of education may rise substantially for them out of pocket. Many of them have the generous GI Bill, as you know, but some of them do not, especially some of our reservists who get deployed for a very short time. They come back and they don't have a full GI Bill post 9/11 at their disposal. So what we talk about is the total cost of an education, and I'm in the business of managing expectations. We let them know right off that you're not going to finish a degree in a year. You're not going to be finishing an associate's degree in 2 years like individuals that go full-time all the time to school. We set those expectations early, and we talk about, so since it's going to take you 7 years to finish this degree, how much is that going to cost you? And is it going to cost you the same while you're in the service? While you're out of the service, what are your options? How can you best utilize all of the benefits that you have? And so that's kind of where we intersect with you all in the financial world. Some of them are eligible for the Pell Grants. And student loans, a lot of our members shy away from them because they have been targeted with them. We can have a whole discussion about that. But our counselors do all of this amazing work to get them set out on the right path, get them financing their education. Our goal is to make college extremely affordable, as I'm sure yours is as well. And many of our service members, especially those using tuition assistance, they don't have to pay out of pocket at all because a lot of our schools negotiate military rates while they're in service. So while they're using the tuition assistance benefit anyway, they're getting a good deal. Tuition assistance is only one financing option, and it is limited. It's not, everything. We pay up to $250 per semester hour, so for a 3-semester hour course, that's $750 a year, and it's capped at $4,500 each year. So every October at the beginning of our fiscal year, that renews, so they can go in and get up to another $4,500. They're taking their courses in an off-time pursuit, and they have to be part of a degree plan of study that they're working on. Tuition assistance is available for certificate programs, vocational technical kinds of certificate programs. It's also eligible for degree, undergraduate and graduate degrees, associates, bachelor's, and master's, but we do not pay for first professional or PhD programs, doctoral programs. A lot of credential and licensure individuals think we pay for credentials and licenses. We do not. We pay for the academic coursework that's required. So credentials and licenses are made up of a whole bunch of things, apprenticeships and experiences. But we will pay for the courses that are required, the academic courses that are required, so that they can sit for the exam or get the license. And it's not just we give them the money and forget about it, because those are taxpayer dollars, so we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We do require them, when they fail of their own volition, to pay that back. So they do end up paying back in some cases if it's a personal reason for that failure. The services also employ some restrictions. So just as an example, each service, the Army, for example, they want the individual, the soldier, to become a soldier first to learn their job. So they may not be eligible for tuition assistance until they're at their first duty location, which might be 1 or 2 years into that member. So they want to make sure they know what they're doing for their job before we're going to allow them to use benefits and do these things. That's just one example. Another area I talked about was preparing them to sit in the classroom. Many of our service members need help reading, writing, math skills. We offer an entire program, some of it online, and some, if you're at a garrison or an installation location, they do offer facilitated instruction classes. This is the only program that's offered on duty. And so sometimes, while they're working on duty, their commander will assign them to take part in a basic skills class, for example. And this is because it assists them with their personal and professional development. We truly believe that an individual needs to have good reading, writing, and math skills to perform their job better. And so this is a program that we do offer on duty time. We use the Peterson's suite of online academic skills course and college placement skills training as our and you can see there where you can go and register for those. The thing that we really like about this is that if they have those skills at the onset, they're less likely to fail, they're more likely to succeed moving forward. And sometimes, having gone through and brushed up on these skills that have been dormant for a while because they haven't been in school, they can actually go and do our next program, which is Test Out. We offer the CLEPS and DSST exams for service members. These are great for some of our folks who are very experienced and have many years and a lot of knowledge. And so they go and they take the test. In history, for example, it's a big one with our military members. They know a lot about history, having served in the military and gone through a lot of military history in their training classes. And so if they get a certain score, most colleges will accept that in lieu of basic history classes, for example, History 101. So service members like that. Again, remember, it's taking them 7 years to complete an associate's degree, so this is like time to completion reduction for them. Their time is the most valuable asset they have. And so if they don't have to sit in a classroom for a term, when they already know some of this basic information, they can refresh themselves, and then they can go and take the exam. And again, most colleges and universities will accept that in lieu of basic requirements to meet the degree. And so then they're starting out where they should. So this is really great for our service members. It also helps us because then we're paying just the exam fee, which is about $80. Rather than $750 for the course for tuition assistance. We have national test centers on our bases in some cases, and they're run by colleges and universities. We have agreements with them. We pay both the exam fee and the administration fee in those cases where we have those agreements. We also offer a reimbursement, so if they go to your college or university and take it, we do offer a reimbursement, but we will only pay for the exam fee, not the administration fee that's associated, so they'll have to do that out of pocket. The joint service transcript is really an opportunity for us to kind of demonstrate to you all as colleges what experience our members already have and let you consider that in a portfolio kind of review. So we have a partner called the American Council on Education, and what they do is they contract with faculty from your institutions. Yes, faculty from your institutions. So we have contracted with you all, who are experts in education, to go out to our military schoolhouses where they train medics to become medics, where they train cybersecurity to become cybersecurity folks. And the faculty, they go out there, they review the curriculum, and then they make a recommendation of how much college credit and what kind of credit might be awarded for this. It's a very robust program, and if you're interested, you should go to the American Council on Education website and look at it a little bit more. But they evaluate, and then they make a recommendation of what college credit you all as a college might accept in lieu of sitting in the classroom for that same kind of activity. And again, this allows us, this is all about time to completion, reducing that for our service members, and giving them credit, rightfully, for things that they do already know, so that they can start off working on things that, that they do need to pursue. The Community College of the Air Force, many of you know, that's a standalone. They're accredited on their own right, a regional accreditation, and so they issue their own transcripts and they review all their own programs in accordance with accreditation standards. Our Troops to Teachers program, I mentioned, it started in 1993. It basically is helping service members who want to become teachers after they leave to do that in the K-12. We like to encourage them, for those that are eligible and want to receive a stipend, we encourage them to teach in high needs schools and in core critical subject areas like science, tech, STEM subject areas. So we offer a $5,000 stipend for eligible members to become teacher certified in their state. So depending on the state, that varies of what those requirements are, but we will pay them a stipend of $5,000 so they can go to school and meet those requirements. We also will give a $10,000 bonus to those who agree to teach following finding a teaching job in a high-needs school or in a critical subject area. We have a relationship with a lot of states because, like I mentioned, every state is different, and navigating those state credentialing requirements can be tricky. So we do a warm handoff with our service members who are transitioning out and veterans that are interested in the programs. And so we send them off to the state, and they work with them on the navigating the credential, getting, and even referring them for jobs that are available in the area. So we really like that program. So last, I'm going to talk about 3 things that we do to help design and build an informed consumer. And by that, you're all in the consumer information business as well. I understand there are several requirements where you have to meet consumer information transparency kind of requirements. We do the same thing. We want to educate our service members so they can make an informed decision, and these are just some ways that we do that. So the first one is called a tool called Tuition Assistance Decide, or TA Decide for short. It's very similar if you're familiar with the GI Bill, or you may be familiar with College Navigator. So this is our version of that. A service member can go online, they can look at any school that receives TA, they can search by if they're interested in becoming a cyber individual. They can go and find that field, and it will pop up all of our TA eligible schools that are in there. They can further, clarify and pick some measures, and they can compare up to 3 schools at a time, and they can see things like, what's the likelihood that a service member is going to graduate from this school? How long is it going to take them? What's the course completion rate at that school for people that are just like me, service members? The nice other thing that this has is we have data not just from Department of Defense. We've incorporated data from the Departments of Education and the Veterans Affairs. So you can go to this one place, Tuition Assistance Decide, and you can see loan default rates from Department of Ed data, IPEDS, PEPs. You can see GI Bill information, how many GI Bill users are going to this school. It's the only place where you can go and get all 3 pieces of information at the same time right now. Many of you may be familiar that a couple years back we were transitioning a lot of members out of the force and into civilian sector. There was a huge initiative to get them smart, and about 18 months before they got out, there was a huge curriculum redesign. One piece of that curriculum was optional, and it was called Accessing Higher Education. It was a 2-day optional course where if they were considering going to college in a kind of residential experience, where we helped them understand everything from basic concepts like what's accreditation, or what's a credit hour, what's a semester hour, I don't understand this. So we walk them through all of those things, all the way up to applying to a competitive application process for a college. So those are all the things, and that's the one here on your, I guess that would be your right, on my left. So that one was the precursor. We realized then that we have a lot of that is really great about about 30% of that curriculum really applied to our service members who were using tuition assistance, who are part-time students, who aren't looking for a residential college experience, and they're pursuing in a more irregular fashion. So we took that and we modified it and created this higher education preparation course, or HE Prep we call it. And so that's really helps them think about how they're going to finance the total costs. It talks about a little bit more about how to avoid misleading, deceptive activities on the military installation. It helps them shop, gives them tools. It uses tuition assistance decide, which we just talked about, and kind of walks them through everything again from, what's accreditation, what's the best, for me to go to. And it talks about an individual experience, because what we have seen is that the buddy system is alive and well in the Department of Defense. And so if your commander or your buddy is going to school XYZ, where do you 9 times out of 10 think that I'm going to go to school? It's going to be that same school. We want to break that mold, and we want people to realize that everybody has career goals. You should be thinking about what you want to do when you take the uniform off one day, and we want to help you get there, but that is a personal pathway, and we need to talk about how you as an individual can get there in the best way for you. So it's a culture change for the Department of Defense. We're obviously not in the business of education. We're in the business of fighting and winning wars. So this is a big deal for us, and trying to get people to understand it is sometimes a challenge. And finally, I'll leave you with something you may be familiar with, because you also have a feedback system that launched last April. A couple of years before that, we launched our complaint system. President Obama signed an executive order back in 2012, April, and we worked with the VA and Department of Education to create a place where individuals using federal education benefits could voice their concerns if they had negative experiences with colleges or what might have you. So this is our version of that. Anybody that's using tuition assistance or our spouse program, which is called MyCAA, sorry about the acronyms here, they can go and they can express their displeasure or pleasure, and we get those and we work through each of them, just like you all do with your cases. And the cases that are validated, meaning there appears to be an issue and it is substantive, those are transferred, just like yours, to the Federal Trade Commission. So with that, these are just some key resources. You may want to check out our website. DODMOU.com is where you can find all of the schools that we do business with. You can even see the agreement that they sign. You can begin an application to sign one if your school is interested in becoming a member. And we also have TA Decide. You can download all of our tuition data by school. The entire file is available there. It's very interesting. So without that, I'm happy to answer any questions or hear anything that you want to share with me.
Hi.
Take someone to be first, right?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Gail Watkins. I'm from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University Worldwide in Daytona Beach. And I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. I have an issue with when one of my military students are being selected for verification, and it's specific to citizenship. And if they're deployed in Afghanistan and they're out in the field, there's the affidavit that they can have signed, but it has to be notarized. There's no way to get that notarized. We can't ask for their military ID. So what would be an alternative to get the verification completed so that we could get them funded?
There's a citizenship thing, and they said that we can accept a copy, and it doesn't have to be notarized. It said you cannot physically get to the location.
Yeah, and
Take a picture of it if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with DOD as an employer,
Okay,
just like
that's what I
anybody
was
else, and you can certainly verify their employment, but as far as citizenship,
Okay.
I am not 100%. I could certainly go back and find that. If you want to leave your business card and write on the back of it, I can certainly get back with you on that.
And the other thing, I know that you do a lot of counseling. What I found, at the end of our academic year, we tend to go back because Pell is something that we can work with if someone didn't receive Pell. What I found is I've noticed a lot of our military people are not filling out their FAFSAs. And I talked to a few of them, and they're under the impression because if they're getting military tuition assistance that they're not eligible. So I don't
Yeah,
know
I've heard that
if there's
before.
okay.
There's a little bit of a stigma, I'm not going to lie,
Okay.
with filling out the FAFSA for our military members because they think that they're going to be sold loans. And this is something that we're trying to make sure that they understand because a lot of them don't make a lot of money and so are eligible for the Pell Grant. And we do have that conversation with them about that this is money, you can use your tuition assistance to pay the tuition portion, and you can use a Pell Grant to pay for anything from your groceries to your electric bills. I mean, there's a whole host of, daycare. So we are trying to break through that mold and make sure that they do fill it out, even if they don't intend to accept those loans. What we have also seen, and it is a big concern for us, is that they are signing up for loans that they don't need.
Exactly.
And so I know that schools don't want to say no, but I would highly encourage you to have a serious conversation with members that are planning to take loans when you know full well that their entire bill is paid. This is a big concern, and it just adds to the student debt when they get out. And so I think we all have a responsibility there.
Yes, well, yeah, we counsel them on that thoroughly.
Yeah, but telling them that you don't have to take it, it's just so attractive.
Yeah, I mean, that actually was going to be what I was going to kind of talk or comment about is I have mostly graduate students who are using their GI benefits, and we have Yellow Ribbon as well. And so these students, because between the two, their tuition is fully covered, but because of the way that we can and cannot count loans, we can actually include the full amount, and they will, even if we don't originally take it, they give it to them. We have to tell them that there's still eligibility, and they will come back and take it. And we spend 3 years with these students every time they come back saying, this is how much you're getting in grant funding. This is what your loan debt is going to look like. And we try so hard to discourage it.
Right.
And, so we're working on our end, but, if I imagine you guys are doing the
We are.
same, but if from the front end,
It's just so attractive to them, I mean, you can buy
it
a
is,
car
but-
now and
Yeah.
worry about it later,
I know, and it just breaks my heart to see these people leave with $180,000 in debt that they.
I would
they don't
love you to be able to deny it.
Me
But that
too.
is not
Yeah, we've asked for that
right
and
now.
We've received a little pushback.
But we're working on
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Every opportunity, that's what I'm telling folks on the Hill, so.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to reiterate on that because I'm glad to hear your stance on it as far as not wanting us to encourage the loans. Almost like the shopping sheet requires us to disclose that information to them, that the loans are available to them. I find that even though they qualify for the full amount of the grant and they receive that in full, that it's just not enough for some of them. And even though we know they don't need it, they still come and they want us to, to award it. And we have our hands tied. And of course, with the extra counseling and all of that, there are that group. And then once one tells one, then that one tells the other one. And
Buddy system, alive and
it
well.
continues going. And, and so they are graduating with debt. So it's good to know that you don't want them to have it. And
We discourage it. We
Yeah,
highly
because-
discourage taking out loans that aren't needed because, later on those loans may be needed, but right now they're not. So,
But I just want you to know it's happening.
Yeah,
and
no.
more and more.
I hear that, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you for that. There's another division that works in the same area that I am in. It's called financial literacy. The department's getting more and more involved in everything from, consumer credit card debt to the Military Lending Act. There's a whole host of things. So, and we're getting ready to deploy a brand new retirement system called the blended retirement system, where a young cadet coming in will be able to pick and choose their benefits. So this is going to be including a thrift savings plan and health benefits, and it's going to be very interesting times here. So it's an opportunity, I guess, what I would share with you, for us to make them financially savvy. And so we're designing a whole curriculum around financial literacy so that we can start them from inception, from when they join the military, and give that to them. And we have certified financial counselors available. And if we don't have them available where they're at, we contract with some that are out in the, hinterlands to do that for them. So, yes, sir.
2 questions. First one is, have you guys considered bringing something in the lines of VRAP back?
I'm sorry, what?
VRAP?
So is that the old...
For people that had expired the GI Bill and they came back and they were using it.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I have not heard anything about that.
Okay. And the second question is, for students that don't qualify for 100% of their GI Bill and decide not to use financial aid Pell Grants because they're scared again of filling out the application, why is it that the schools cannot give discounts after the amount instead of before? For example, if the tuition is $10,000 and I'm giving them a scholarship for $2,000, I have to charge $8,000 instead of the $10,000 and give them the discount afterwards.
All right, you just lost me.
So we were told discounts can only be applied after.
It is the end of the day, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, discounts can only be applied before, not after. So if I'm charging the school, if I'm charging the VA $10,000 and I gave them $2,000, the tuition then is $8,000.
I see. Okay, so that sounds like a GI Bill question and GI Bill is run, even though they establish their eligibility while they're in the Department of Defense for the GI Bill, the GI Bill is administered by the VA. So that sounds like a VA rule. I will tell you, for tuition assistance is the first bill payer. So we consider, if they're going to get that $750 for the course, for their tuition assistance course, we want you to use that first, because we only pay for tuition. And sometimes you have fees and books or other things that can be paid for. We can't pay for those, so we want you to use that tuition assistance first to discount the tuition portion, and then figure out what other benefits they can use to pay the rest. Gotcha. But I'm not sure about the VA's rules. Sorry about that.
I have a question about resources. You had the slide about the teacher resource, and it was a .com website. I get a lot of emails from companies, agencies that say that they want to help vets, and I don't have time to vet the website and the resource and the information. I would love a VA authorized, DOD authorized list of who we can refer vets to and who's not going to be scamming them.
Yeah, that I could probably work with the VA on something like that, because there are a lot of nonprofit. I was talking with somebody earlier, like Vet Success or Student Veterans of America, who offer free counseling. And free legal counsel in some cases. So that's probably something we could put together.
Yeah, it'd be great to have a resource that is approved, that we can just say, yep, these are people that you can go to.
Of course, it's going to have to come from the VA, because I'm responsible while they're wearing the uniform.
That's okay.
But once they leave our coffers, someone else, unfortunately, gets to take over. Go ahead.
For a comment on your question, is it your scholarships that you're trying to apply to? So my understanding is if your scholarship is applied to tuition, then it counts. If it doesn't count. Because our school, but we don't count it at all, because our scholarships don't go towards tuition only. They can go towards anything. They can go towards room and board or whatever it is. So as long as it doesn't count towards tuition, you don't have to count it as a discount. But that's what I'm saying. Because you count it towards tuition, you have to count it. But for schools that don't count it towards tuition, here's a scholarship, you can use it for however you want to. We don't have to report that to the VA. So that's my understanding about that, though. But a question, I saw on your slide earlier about the total fiscal year amount is $4,500, but I receive information that it's 4,000.
Yeah, that's interesting. Someone asked that in my last session as well. So let me explain to you the services in an effort to make sure that they get the best bang for the buck and the most individuals can use it. So like, for example, the Army, they have a requirement right now where they only allow a service member, a soldier, to get 16 semester hours, which would cap it at 4,000. But there are exceptions, so if the member were to ask for an exception, they may be granted above that. It just depends.
So follow up to that then. So every branch has different, because the Army also has 130 credit limitations cap
That's
for
correct.
undergrad, and I think it's 39 for graduate.
Yes.
So every branch is different.
So every branch has their own kind of rules to manage it. And the one that you were just speaking of is interesting because what we had happening along, probably up until a couple of years ago was service members would go here, they'd go there, they'd accumulate a bunch of credit and never get a degree. So you could have someone with 200 credits and no degree. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so that's why they've put some semester hour limits in place, only allowing them to get appropriate numbers of credits at each degree level before they're going to allow them. Then they make them pay. If you want to pay for all these classes, that's fine, but we're only going to pay for the number that are required to get the degree.
I just wanted to say something on a slightly different note. I wanted to let you know that it's an honor and a privilege to serve the military on our campus. My father was military. I'm a military brat. But last year, my school had a school shooting, and you basically say that you know how to fight wars and win wars. And the military servicemen on our campus were just amazing to step up to the plate and to do what they do. And it really is an honor to serve you and the military for service.
Thank you. I say that to my men and women every day.
And what I would say is, while this information is really helpful, is there anybody here from the Department of Ed that's here? Because what I would also like is for the VA to be represented as well, because I think we still have we're a yellow ribbon school, and I think we still do have a lot of questions with exactly how to bill. I get the whole if it goes towards tuition, if it doesn't, but the whole billing aspect of it's still a little bit fuzzy with some schools, including myself, even though we have a VA rep at our school. But I think you, in conjunction with the VA rep, would be very helpful at these sessions. So,
Someone at Department of Ed get that down. Any alibis? Last minute? Well, I'll stick around, and certainly if you have individual questions that you want to come chat with me about, I'd be happy to hear those as well. Thank you.